What's up, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to build a skate rail. First off, we're going to need some tools. So here's what I did. I went down to Harbor Freight, pulled up some goodies. So we got some gloves. You're going to need these. We're going to weld a little bit today. Essential. Get some pretty thick gloves. Leather gloves work good. I like these gloves to go up your arm a little bit. Got this. Super useful. This is a multi-purpose magnet holder. Basically, this allows you to hold your pieces of metal at 90 or 45 degree angles, depending on what you need. If you're gonna weld, super useful. Welding mask. Today, I got a auto darkening one, which is super useful because the other ones you have to like look and pull it up and look all the time at your stuff. This one auto darkens so you can see it clearly, and then when you start to weld, it'll darken, and that way it doesn't burn your eyes. All right, and also need some metal. So today we got some square 1 1/4 inch by 1/16. We're gonna have a piece of flat. This right here is actually 3/16, so it's a little bit thicker, also by 2 inch. And then got some big 3-inch box. This is also 1/8 inch, so by 3 inches, so give you a little room to do your grinds. Alright guys, you're also going to need a welder. Today I'm going to use this titanium Flux 125 MIG welder. I picked this up at Harbor Freight. You can use other welders too. I'm just going to do a little review on this as well. I paid $200 for this. I'm sure you can go to the store and get it for a little bit cheaper. But today we're going to be showing you how to use this if you don't know how to weld. It's a good starter welder. Should be good for anyone who's a beginner. Alright guys, so right out of the box, here's what you get. You get your welder, of course, your titanium welder. It comes with a nice little gun here, plug in, and pretty decent little clips right here. Got good contact with those. Also, you're going to get a strap, kind of cheap, but you know, it is what it is. I'm probably not even going to use this, but it's okay. You don't get this, but it does come with a spool of wire. It's the same wire, but you're going to want to get flux cord wire. This is a flux welder, so it doesn't have any flux on it. It's going to be 0.03 inches. And last but not least, you also get a little thing right here. This is your tip. You can get, you can buy more tips like this, depending on what you're doing. Has a little sleeve that goes around it as well. So that's what you get right out of the box. All right, let's set this bad boy up. So first thing you got to do is you're going to want to open this up. Just hit that latch, and then you see you got this spool system here. So essentially we're going to put our wire in here, and we're going to feed it through here, and it's going to go into your gun. When you're welding, it'll push that wire out as you pull the trigger of your gun. So real quick, just unscrew this. Pretty simple. Pull that off. Make sure you have the spring on top of that little holder right there. Then you grab your spool of wire and put that in. Alright, so I just feeded that in there off camera because it's kind of difficult. One thing of advice I could tell you is make sure to tighten this down pretty decent, because this wire is tight and it's spooled up real tight, and it'll just unspool on you if you're not careful. Also, one thing to be sure about, there's a little lip on this wheel right here. You want to get your wire under that. That way it kind of guides it in there, right? So you can open this, and now that I got it wired fed in there, and close it and take this, latch it down, tighten it a little bit, and now you should be good to go. Now that we got our welder kind of set up, we got to feed the wire through. So what you got to do is you got to turn this on. There's a little switch in the back. Hit that switch. You'll hear it power up. Now there's these two setting knobs on the front of your welder. Now this top one is going to be your voltage. We're not going to worry about that yet. We're just going to feed it through. So this bottom knob is going to be your wire speed. So I just turn it all the way up because I got to get this wire through the end of this. So what you do is turn it up. I got it on, 10 max, and then just hit the button on your little wire feeding gun and wait, and just try to watch it and make sure it's getting spooled through correctly. This is going to take a second to come through, so we're just gonna wait. Finally just got that wire through. You can see it coming out of the tip right here. I don't really need it hanging out like that, so I'm gonna break it off. I turned it off as a safety precaution, but I'm actually pretty positive you can just break these off with it on, and you're not gonna get like tased or anything, so don't worry about it. I just broke it off, and now this is basically set up to go. I'm gonna cut some metal first. We got our box that needs cut. I'm gonna cut it probably about 1.5 feet. That way I have a pretty high rail I can grind on. It all depends what you guys want. You know, if you're freaking got massive pop, you know, go for it. Make it just freaking this whole thing. No, just kidding. But I'm gonna cut some metal. Also gonna cut this. We have this flat is at 3 feet, so I'm gonna cut it in half. So we're gonna have 1.5 feet. And I think that's gonna be a pretty decent stand. It's not gonna make your rail too wobbly when you go skate it, because that's like the worst when you hit a wobbly rail, you know? It's very uncomfortable. So I'm gonna cut some metal real quick and I'll be right back. Alright guys, so now that we got that metal cut, it's time to start welding, so let's just get started. I'll give you a quick lowdown on just how your welder works. If you got the titanium 125 Flux welder, it's gonna have your 2 knobs, of course. We talked about wire speed, this one, and this one's a little different. This is your voltage, and most welders will have numbers, but if you look on this, we got letters. When I first looked at this, I wasn't sure what those meant. You know, I really still don't. But I toyed with it a little bit, and I found these are pretty decent settings just for welding what we're doing right now. So right now I got it on E, right between D and E, and then we got our wire speed. We could probably turn it up just a little bit. I like it at 5 to 4. I feel like that's a decent wire speed. I'm kind of a slow welder, but yeah, so get your settings somewhere there. You might want to toy with it. What I do is we'll get a piece of scrap metal. This is just a piece I cut that I'm not going to use, and I'll show you how to set it up. Alright guys, so we're just going to set up this test metal so I can teach you just some basics on how to weld. So you get your metal that you want to weld. You get your clamp. Just connect it anywhere. You just want to make sure you have a good connection. It'll just make everything easier. Then you get your gun. We're gonna turn on the welder. There it goes. Make sure you get your gloves on. It's gonna get a little hot. Alright. Got my gloves, got my welding mask. Like I said, I use the auto darkening welding mask. It helps a lot. Now what you're gonna wanna do when you're first welding is that you wanna get a decent line. You wanna practice getting a decent line. So what I do is we're gonna take our gun here, and what you want to do is you want to go in a straight line, but as you're doing it you want to do little moons and just little crescent shapes almost, or maybe even circles. Just keep doing little tiny circles and you should get a decent weld. We'll try it out. I'm not sure how the welding's gonna look on the camera. It's really bright, that's why we need the helmet, so we'll see how it goes. But I'll do a little demonstration for you real quick. Alright, now we got this metal here. You can see that little line I did there. Nothing too fancy about it. Now we clean it up with the drill. I like to use a wire brush to clean these up. Just pop one on your drill real quick. Makes it really easy. Where did the drill go? Alrighty guys, so here's what that weld looks like. As you can see, it's not so bad. You can see these little circular shapes. That's where I would do the crescent movements, and you kind of just go down. And you know what I used to do, because after you weld, you'll have a lot of slag and stuff on it. So what you need is you got to get a brush, some sort, for your grinder or your drill. I use this. Works pretty good. Just hit it real quick. Clean it up. Also, when you're welding, if you don't have clean metal, maybe it's rusty or something, use the drill to clean up the spots where you're gonna weld. It'll help a lot. Dirty metal doesn't weld very well. Alrighty guys, so we're gonna use that thing I bought, this thing, and it's so useful because it helps you hold your pieces at angle without having to do all these like clamps and complicated stuff. So I just kind of set that down, and we're gonna make our first stand for our rail. Try to get it positioned in the center. I already measured the center, so I got this set up. Make sure it's just right in the center, that way you have the most stability when you're doing your grinds. And yeah, so we'll just get started on the welding process. We're gonna need to just weld on these very bottom edges on every side. Just weld around it. It's really that simple. Not too much to go about it. So get our welder connected. Boom. Oh, not boom. There we go. Once we start welding, we won't need this stand anymore once we get a couple good connections on there. And I'll turn it on, and we'll get going. Alright guys, so now I finished that weld on this. You know, they're not really the prettiest welds, but I got enough material there on the edges that I think it'll be able to hold up all of the torque I'm going to put it through. So yeah, just finished that. Now I'm going to attach this up here onto our big bar. Make sure you have it a little bit back from the front, that way it actually has more stability around there. And we're going to get those welded too. Alrighty guys, I got one of the stands on. It's looking pretty solid on here. Now you're gonna get this other one on. Here's a good tip. If you don't want to use this magnetic thing, because it's not very strong, these magnets are kind of trash. You can set it up and just do a couple little welds on the corners and the ends, just to keep it like somewhat steady. And then you can finish the rest of your welding without using this thing, because I've had it fall over on me a couple times. But yeah, we're just gonna finish this up. Alright, done deal. Rail's finished. You got both stands on. I even add a little final touch. Alright, you know what time it is. Time to skate.